Caring for relatives with dementia is an agonizing and often very expensive trauma for families. Money Magazine writer Donna Rosato spent the last 3 months covering this story for the December issue. Donna, my first question is, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? We seem to hear more about Alzheimer's than dementia.
Alzheimer's is just the most common form of dementia. There's a number of different kinds, but you hear about Alzheimer's so much because that is the most common form that people have.
And it affects so many families. I'm just wondering, what is the advice that you found that families can really think about before you get a diagnosis? How can we prepare for something like this?
I think the most important thing for families to know is that Medicare, which is the primary health insurance for people over 65, does not cover any of the long-term care that a disease like dementia requires. One of the stats that we found that was just really difficult for caregivers to understand is that the out-of-pocket cost for to care for someone for dementia is over $80,000. For somebody with cancer or heart disease, it's half that.
Wow.
And you are paying for that out of pocket.
And how difficult is this to diagnose? My grandfather had Alzheimer's. It seemed to take a while for them to come to that conclusion, even though we saw signs earlier.
One of the things that is the first thing to go, though, is financial management skills. You see people having difficulty just paying their bills. It could be bouncing checks. Unfortunately, a lot of folks kind of start developing poor judgment, and you see a lot of people with dementia doing things like giving to a lot of money to charity or even being victims of scams.
If you're a family member and maybe your parents don't like talking about money so much because it's maybe a generational difference, how can you insert yourself in that process? Are there some warning signs that we can come up with or would allow you to have a conversation?
Sure, it's a really difficult conversation to have, and very few people want to face the reality about themselves that they may have a problem, whether it is natural aging or something more serious like dementia. I think a good thing to do is to sit down with it. When you've seen a sign of something, say, hey, Mom or Dad, I noticed a few things that they're concerning me. Have you been to a doctor? And if not, gee, I'd like to go to the doctor with you just to make sure that everything's okay.
Let's say you've got bad luck, you've got the diagnosis. What's next to prepare your family financially?
Well, I say one of the most critical things to do early on is to get that legal paperwork in place before the person who has dementia no longer has the legal capacity to turn over management of their financial affairs. And that the critical documents to have are, one, a durable power of attorney. That allows you to make financial decisions on the behalf of the person who has dementia. And of course, you want to choose someone that you trust and can handle those financial affairs. The other critical document is a healthcare proxy or a healthcare directive that allows someone on the behalf of the person who cannot make decisions to help them make healthcare decisions on their behalf.
Donna Rosato, thank you so much. Such important information.
Thanks, Jill.